The meeting is on Zoom. We do have some public with us today, and quite frankly, as long as we can maintain a comfortable level of social distancing, that's just fine. So I think we probably got room for at least one more if can we get the deputies? If she wants to come and sit in the back over there, that's fine.
The sound's not working. Oh, I gotta unmute this.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. So again, as long as we can maintain a comfortable level of social distancing here, I think we'll be all right. Are we still having problems with the audio? Are we in this lovely Zoom world?
Lauren, can you hear us now?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we always start our meeting with a prayer and a pledge of allegiance. Lenny, would you lead us in prayer today? And before we have the prayer, I don't know if everybody's aware or not, but incoming Commissioner Brian Zender lost his father night before last. So if you could include him in your thoughts and prayers. Thanks.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for gathering us here together this morning as a free people to discuss the business of Lapeer County. At this time, we are mindful of the many, many, many challenges facing our community, as well as our great state, our nation, and our world. And Lord, we know that we need your hand of guidance and protection to help us navigate through these difficult times. And so we ask for that, and we ask you to be with us here today as well. And give us guidance, however we need to best serve our people. Lord, we ask for a special blessing upon all within our community, especially those hurting. We ask for a special blessing for our staff and their families, especially our staff that place themselves in harm's way every day for our protection, as well as all of our frontline workers. Lord, we ask for protection for our troops, especially those away from their families fighting in foreign lands. Please bring them home safe and soon to their families victorious. As we prepare to conduct the business now of the county today, Lord, give us the wisdom necessary to make the best decisions that we can. We ask all this. Lord, we also ask for a special blessing for Brian Zender's family with their recent loss, for strength and encouragement during this difficult times. Give you the praise in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. I skipped a roll call till after the pledge, and then just for you, right? So, roll call, please.
Commissioner Snyder.
Here.
Commissioner Warren.
Here.
Commissioner Henning.
Here.
Commissioner Jarvis.
Present.
Commissioner Jones.
Here.
Commissioner.
Okay. We need to, consideration of our agenda for approval.
Well, I'd like to add something to that if I could. Sure. Health Department, because that commission will talk about for us to discuss what we okay in our community, so I'd like to add. We okay.
We okay? Yeah. Sorry. That's right.
What is it?
You don't have any sound. We're trying to figure it out.
They're not hearing us?
No.
You might need a mic up closer to the competition.
Test, test, test.
I hear sound for a second. other day we had sound and no picture because we forgot to turn the cameras on.
While we're doing that, just clarification, what did you say your motion was?
Was to add to discuss the health department COVID-19 situation. This is a discussion the community is asking, so I think we should at least talk about it. So I just like to add that.
Mr. Chairman, if you can make that number 6, because number 4, number 5, I see we have a couple other items on the dais here for us. One being the motion from court on family building company to do a reconfiguration project. And then we have some draft labor motions as well, so we can make court number 4, draft labor motions number 5, and then discussion from the health department number 6. I will move the agenda with those changes.
Okay,
Support.
we have a motion and we have support. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Back over here, we need to approve our minutes from November 19th.
So moved.
Support.
We have a motion, we have support. Do we have any discussion on those minutes? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. The commissioners' mileage and expense sheets are going around. It's elected official and department head update time. Do we have any elected officials or department heads that would like to speak to us today?
There's none in the hallway.
What do you know?
Okay, moving on. We have our first public time. Is there?
Wait, is there anybody that responded on
No.
line by chance?
No.
Okay.
Is there any public that would like to speak to us today?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm content to cut this quick. We're gonna be staying, so I want to close the business.
actually, you can stand right back there, right where you're at, is just fine.
That's fine. Gee, where do I start? Coronavirus, we've got in Lapeer County, as I recall, I had it written down here, I'm trying to find it. We have a total of, I think it's 60 or 66 cases as of today, deaths, and 3,044 cases. Nowhere near the tens of thousands that we have in Wayne County, or in Oakland County, or in Macomb County. Yet we are treated, and our businesses are treated, like it's rampant here. I think Lapeer County has done an excellent job in containing this epidemic, if you want to call it that. Down south, not so much. But our businesses are being harassed. I assume that, I've heard, they're getting fines and citations from Michigan Department, not Michigan, Lapeer County Health people, Health and Human Services, because they stayed open. They're only trying to feed their families, pay their employees. And with the statistics the way they are, I seriously think we ought to reevaluate the situation up here. And the county commission needs to, through their attorney, enact an ordinance of exception to the state of Michigan and its draconian, tyrannical health practices restricting the businesses and the people's livelihoods in this town, in this county. That's basically all I've got to say. I could go into all that stuff, but I don't have but 3 minutes, so that'd be kind of difficult. So I'll shut my mouth and sit down now, and you can go on with your meeting.
Thank you. Is there any other public that would like to speak with us today? Hearing and seeing none, we will move on with our meeting and go to new and old business. Agenda item number 1, friend of the court, request to approve the 2021 access visitation contract.
I will move it.
It's
Support.
We have a motion, we have support. Do we have any discussion on that issue? Or questions? Don't let me down, Dial, just because I'm chairman.
Is this the act, are you on the, this?
Access, yes.
Yeah.
That is, a program that we've had for quite a while, and it's just pass-through money. And so there'll be.
Goes to
no-
kind?
It goes to kind, and, it's only $750, I think, or $650 to start with, but that was, so we could get started, and then the other grant will be coming later.
Are there any other questions or discussion? Just for, I guess, just under full disclosure, our interim county administrator is the acting, or is the director of kind, just so we put that out there. So, not that there's any conflict when you're administrator and not commissioner, but.
This commissioner sits on that board, is not a board member.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Number 2, notice of upcoming appointments.
Mr. Chairman, I'll start off with, under Senior Programs Advisory Board, my district, District 4. I spoke with A. Wayne Bennett, who has served us well. Pastor, city resident, senior, and former city commissioner. These meetings here as well. A. Wayne says that he would like to continue to serve. And I spoke to Paul Walker, and Paul is here. So I would make a motion to appoint A. Wayne Bennett.
That's just truly a commissioner appointment, don't need a motion.
Okay. In that case, that'll be my appointment.
Okay.
And for District 6, my district, I know Bonnie would, Evelyn would like to continue.
My district has still hasn't had anybody, but I'm just trying to tell them some people over there.
I'm gonna reappoint Anna Lerma to the position, for District 1.
And do you know if Shirley Lyons has been coming? She's a husband at large.
I don't think, I have not.
I heard she's pretty skilled, so I'm not sure if she's gonna want to serve or not.
Yeah, I would check first.
I haven't had a meeting in over 6 months.
All right. But I don't recall seeing her.
In the interim, we lost, William Zadowski.
Is that okay with you?
I don't have a person for sure yet for District 3, except I should note that we got Bill Palmer on that list. He was replaced by Walt Rosebrook. You check with Walt to see if he continued. They have not been meeting tonight, am I not?
No, we haven't, no.
And I'm not going to reappoint anyone until I speak with Brian. Any other?
Other areas, I can indicate that Agricultural Preservation Board, Jerry Cooper and Bill Ankley have agreed to serve another term if we approve them. I will nominate Jerry Cooper and William Ankley.
Make a motion that nominations be closed and unanimous ballot be cast for Jerry Cooper and William Anthony.
Support.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
I should note that board did meet once this last year, first time in several years, and was able to recommend several farm families for money to do purchase of development rights. One of them actually
submitted but was not chosen. I would not, I would expect that we'll meet again in 2021 to nominate some people again.
Anyone else?
Emergency, management, I think they've all agreed to be back on, except, I'm not sure about Joel Smith. Mary sent us an update. For it.
We could, if you wanted to, we could just re-nominate that entire slate for emergency planning.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Lynette had it actually.
Oh, okay.
Joel Smith is not interested. Diane Ireland, I don't think she's on here. Jerry Carter is not interested. He retired, so probably the new co-planner will take his place. So those are the only ones, the rest all want to like to serve again.
What? Okay.
I think I put vacant on the ones that do not want to be reappointed in your list.
I don't see Diane Ireland on here.
Yeah, I
It's one of
think,
the vacants.
Oh, okay.
I replaced their names with the word vacant,
Because she's no longer eligible to serve.
right.
Gotcha.
based on Mary's recommendation, I did that to your list in your packet.
I don't see her on there. I think she had a 2 years, 2-year terms are split, so Amanda, she's not up for, so you'll probably get somebody to replace her in January.
Nominate everyone with the exception of Jerry Carter and Joel Smith.
I'll do that. I don't have a complete list, but everybody on that list except for those two people, I will nominate.
I'll support
Well, that's a nomination, not a motion, so we just need a motion to,
That's Andy Easter from Law Enforcement, Russ Adams from EMS, Crystal from the paper, Steve Zopp from Education, ISD, Joe Medved, Citizen, Kevin Boxey, Community, Cheryl Clark, Community, Kelly Bales, GLTA, Transportation, Zeb Scones from Transportation Road Commission. That'll be the next.
you know, making motion to close.
I make a motion to close and unanimously cast this individuals.
Support. We have a motion, we have support. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
I think Mike and Richard would also serve another year in GLS.
Do we have to add time to this thing running out? Do we just have are we just going to have a person who's paying for nothing?
We
Dan?
gotta put another quarter in it somewhere.
The first time I was there, extend this. We had it set up for April.
So we got upgrade.
They have a license, right?
We have a license.
It's licensed.
I don't know why it's there.
We just upgraded.
Okay.
Okay, I do have one note on library, district library nomination. We should have, I didn't find it in my box, but we should have an application from Amanda Klug from the Columbia area. Okay, I know she sent, I got a copy, it was sent to Doreen, I believe. So, I know she submitted.
So, it'll be in your box next week.
Yeah, I guess, in case.
Cheryl,
Normally we say we gotta have the application, I've got it, but.
Right, I do remember seeing it, but I didn't know Doreen didn't put it in the box.
So we do have a person interested from the very two sort of farthest away, but Columbiaville has also got a site and is very active area, so I think it's appropriate plus some other people.
your comment on, GLS Region 5, is that speculation, or are you pretty solid?
I'm pretty, Mike's the only one that might not want to. Richard, I'm positive will. We have not talked to him because we haven't had a meeting, but.
So can you just make a call to Mike, and then next week we'll take care of
Sure.
library, we can take care of those ones.
Yeah.
And I have one other question on that, do we still, is that their formal name, or has it changed with the governor's, going all the way back to the new regions? Because I notice now even on media releases and stuff like that, they start to refer to it now as region, here in that area is Region 6, and not Region 5. And that's, I mean, that's almost 2 years old now. That when the previous governor changed all of that stuff, that was a discussion about whether or not they were going to change their name or not. So I'm just, at some point, we should really, you know, it's okay, like in our informal MAC meeting, when we call ourselves whatever we want to call ourselves, what we call ourselves, so District 7, going back a couple decades ago. But that one, where we're spending a lot of money in grants and stuff, should probably be.
She's got still Region 5 on her title.
Can you,
Genesee, Lapeer, Shiawassee, Region 5.
I think, don't we have different regions for different, we're not just Region 5 all around for everything?
well, and that's my point. Informally, but formally, the money that I've been seeing coming out of the state, they've been calling it Region 6. So maybe at some point, that,
Maybe at the first
that
meeting,
body,
they're
yeah,
changing
needs
their
to,
name.
at some point, that body needs to at least discuss, because it's gonna come in, it's gonna complicate matters at some point, when you're talking about dollars exchanging. So, like I say, it's one thing if you're having just informal meetings, but when you're exchanging money, it should probably be the right term.
I can check on that. Did anybody check on the building authority, Dave Felt? Are we calling him too?
I can call Mike if you want.
Okay, that'd be great.
In regards to the Region 5, I do believe Gary made some suggestion that they wanted a commissioner on it.
Or we have two commissioners, Gary and, actually it's me, because he appointed me, because nobody wanted to serve. So I'm still on it, so during the chairman's appointment in January, he appoints two commissioners to that, and then we have two citizens.
Anything else on appointments? Moving on. Discussion for the schedule, reading of year schedule. Let's see, we've got,
And I think that's a carryover from last week. I don't know whether that was in the meeting before you showed up or not, but there was a discussion about Zoom. And whether or not we wanted to start Zooming these meetings during restriction times, whether we wanted to Zoom like the committee meetings and committee the whole meetings, but on actual BOC where we take formal action, meet, because there was some news that, well, listen, we should still show up every once in a while for at least those roles if the employees are. And then on the other side of the coin was, well, why risk people if you don't have to? And we just moved the whole discussion to this week. We said, well, we're gonna have Zoom set up for this meeting, so let's see how it goes. And with that in mind, do we want to make Zoom a backup, or do we want to make COWs Zoom only? Or do we want to make all our meetings during lockdowns Zoom only? And we did, the one, I think, agreement we did have was that we wanted Zoom, at the very least, from this point on, as a backup. So that say one or two commissioners, be they on leave, or if all of a sudden they get sick, or if all of a sudden we find that, we had an exposure, and we're all having to self-isolate, or quarantine, or whatever from the week is, and maybe you couldn't take any action, we we would still have the ability to Zoom under the law, to at least be able to have a quorum and keep business going. So those were the issues that,
And under the Open Meetings Act, we can also have it so that we can vote by video. That's available. So why that be not happening?
that was another part of the
But everybody has
discussion, that
personal feelings on it. But yes,
the
I
question was
think-
whether or not we had to change our board rules to allow that. And during the recess, several of us reviewed the board rules. There's nothing in our current board rules that restricts voting remotely. It's just, it's moot, it's not.
In the new year, we probably should have a meeting and make it specific. Right now, it doesn't prohibit it, it doesn't say anything.
It doesn't address it.
Well, I guess, unless we changed it, which I don't remember we did, and I guess I'd have to look at it again, but I'm sure it wasn't, there's a section in there that says,
We picked it apart.
well, look,
You'd be surprised, I looked.
I looked at
I
it,
couldn't
well,
find
okay.
it.
Could you pull down a copy of our policies and procedures? Could have Doreen bring us down a copy?
Doreen actually sent it to me, so she could send it to everybody.
Oh, yeah, have her bring down a copy, because I think I can pick it up pretty
Let's
quick.
see about that.
Yeah, but it's
Um,
one for all of us.
Wasn't there also part of this discussion to set the actual meeting dates we're gonna have for December? And, because I'm assuming our organizational meeting for January is gonna be the 7th, right?
But it's
That's
up to
up
the
to
clerk.
the clerk.
Yeah,
That's
that's,
up to the clerk.
oh, it's up to the clerk,
Yeah.
okay.
But it's
And
probably,
then at that meeting is when we discussed the calendar for 2021.
Yeah, no, I meant for the calendar as far as cancellation for Christmas. I forget, I know we made a motion about the calendar last time around, I don't remember what it was, if it pertained to
Are
Christmas.
you talking the 3 days?
Yeah,
It was not finalized.
it was not finalized, okay, so.
Because you had to do some other homework in order to make that a formal motion.
Okay, so is that kind of what this is supposed to be as well, as to formalize that? Okay.
Well, normally, we would take off the, like, we would cancel the last two meetings,
You already have.
we already have canceled
Yes.
those?
Okay.
So we've got the 10th and the 17th.
Correct. So the question was, what did we want to do with those two? Did we want to Zoom them? Did we want to Zoom as a backup? Did we want to Zoom just one of them? The CAW and FDOC?
And I will say,
We'll have to carry that policy forward.
and I will say, after today, I will be in Florida. I can still get part in Zoom from Florida, whether I can Zoom from my house, or here, or Florida. I have no reason other being here other than if you need my signature. To excuse that is not right. But you can, I have no problem with that. Right now, in COVID, there's no reason for you to do that. I know some people don't like that. That's where I'm at. We're a part-time position here for this county. And we come into the building, we bring more people in, you're talking about COVID, and there's a lot of people right now, because the numbers are high, they're in fear in this building, because people are coming in. And so you're saying, yeah, let's bring them in twice a month. You're still bringing in bodies. But you don't need to, unless you need to be here, why? Unless, I mean, I'm gonna say, don't come here. But why? When you're telling them to do the same thing. That's all I'm saying. We have to practice what we're preaching. We have governors, we have mayors, telling people to do something, they're doing the opposite. It does not make sense. Show the community that you're following the same suit. That's why I got to say on next week.
Did you talk to Gary and his other friends?
He doesn't like it.
I know you volunteered to talk to our
And I
chair.
will, I've been.
No,
he
no,
said-
I
he
asked
said
somebody
publicly.
specifically else to. I said, I got a couple of.
Did you do
Somebody
it?
else's turn.
I did
No,
talk
because
to, I did
we
talk,
weren't gonna move it, so I didn't feel.
I did talk to Gary, and Gary is not in favor of Zoom meetings, Zoom voting,
See, Zoom only.
Zoom only. He doesn't mind, well, I think Gary and I both agree, and I guess I'll speak for myself at the same time.
Speaking for Brian, this would be the future too.
Well, I feel pretty comfortable saying it, but I think Brian and I have discussed it, and we agree too. So, I guess my opinion is that, I don't mind, I think Zoom as a backup is a good idea. Because something could happen where we need, or where we're forced to have a Zoom meeting. So to have it ready, to have it as a background, I think that's fine. I think that's a good idea. But I think that as long as we can meet, we should meet. We should vote in person. I think you lose a lot when you're not in person. I think, quite frankly, I went to a township meeting the other day, and they're all wearing masks. And it's hard to read people when they're all wearing masks.
Right.
It's hard to read their facial expressions, it's hard to understand what they're thinking. It's hard to hear them. I don't know why it's so high. I have to check my hearing check, because when somebody puts on a mask, it's almost like I can't hear them for some reason. But I guess that's my opinion. I think that sitting across the table, looking somebody in the eye is important. And that's where I come from. I believe that's both the incoming commissioner and the chairs would concur with that opinion.
I will tell you, Zoom is ended. Apparently, Doreen did it on something else other than our license, so it was only 40 minutes long. And then it ended, and so we've got to figure out, make sure she does it on our license so it continues.
Yeah.
Will they be able to, a question for you or IT there, will they be able to do that, you think, rectify that before the interviews start this afternoon? Because that was something that was tried to the
Yes.
public.
We'll have it worked out, right?
I'm just kind of appalled because this was set up and Greg Horton had gotten paid for a better one. And now we're on one that's just a temporary thing, and we have public out there waiting to talk and see us today. I have a community that's upset. And we're now saying, well, we are the county. Why can't we be doing what community mental health is doing and what these other townships are doing? You're on 95% of your stuff is done on Zoom. I do Zoom. On all the business in the county, I do Zoom, except for the county commission.
Well,
That's appalling, it's appalling that we're not set up that way, right?
In all fairness, I gotta tell you, and I told you this morning, I've been in a lot of meetings that are Zoom. If they're just a Zoom meeting, they tend to work pretty good. If they're an in-person meeting, they tend to work pretty good. When you try and split the baby, half the baby, and it's partially not and partially is, they more times than not seem to have issues, from my experience.
Quick question. How many people were on that Zoom?
I think it was all department heads except for maybe, was there 2 people? There was a Rhonda, that I don't know if she was 911 or.
That was Rhonda was 911.
Was 911. I don't know if there's any
Was
public.
Mike on there, Mike Bosky?
I don't think so.
Okay, the only reason I'm wondering is because if we did have public on there, I do want it up right now, because I don't want it to go dead if it was possible, but if we don't have public, that's a different story. But, because I will say that is, I will share Rick's frustration that happened. That seems like a pretty easy fix, it's just logging into the right Zoom account.
Right.
But I don't know.
And, we're gonna apologize, but
Yeah.
Doreen's new at this and.
No, it's fine, I
So
just
I don't
wanna
know.
make sure, if we had public, I wanted to bring
I
it
don't know
up.
Why we're doing it
But you had the Zoom.
Exactly,
Zoom had-
you did say that, that it was gonna be a dry run.
Yes, but Zoom was set up here a couple weeks ago, and it was under Craig Horton's name. I still have it, 'cause I was gonna tell you we should
Right,
change his name.
that's why I said
That's
Doreen
a
must,
permanent account.
I don't know what happened, but I think Doreen maybe set it up under something else other than Craig's license, so it was a 40-minute thing. So Dana's gonna go up and talk to her and see if we can make sure we get it onto this afternoon.
Just for future notes, I think we should do dry runs prior to public information.
We did, and it worked out fine, but we probably didn't have a 40-minute meeting.
To get back to the point at hand, I would, I guess, I don't know if a motion is in order or not, but I would make a motion to allow both Zoom and in person to continue. So if someone wants to be on Zoom, they can.
I'll
For
Also-
all
full board,
I'll support that.
all full board and see.
I'll support that with additional discussion, because I was just going to discuss it and say, okay, just based on the comments that we had last week, the comments that we're having now, and the experience that we're having now, I think we see the advantages and the disadvantages of both. And I like that hybrid model, because as you can see today, there were some department heads that clearly chose they would prefer to be at their workplace. take care of, like you said, when it's just a quick interaction, Zoom is effective for that. So it's good for their reporting purposes. Same thing with the public. It's good for them to see what's going on and maybe they just have a comment. And if a commissioner is absent, again, it's good for them. By the same token, I like the hybrid model of us being here during each one of those meetings if we choose to and are able, healthy and are able. Because I also agree with your comments, Ian, because case in point, and I'll use my city, like we all go to townships and I'll use my city as an example. The city of Lapeer, I don't think it's any secret, has always used Robert's Rules of Order as a very hard and fast, strict rule on how they conduct their meetings. And so it is very much not open dialogue, and we've always historically kind of chosen to use Robert's rules as a general guidelines, even in our policies, but we like a little bit more of the free-flowing information. So Zoom probably works more effectively for like the city, when you're just one at a time. But you're right, where we have an organizational culture, where we've always had the ability to kind of look each other in the eye and free-flowing, it's hard to do that in a Zoom setting. So that's why I support and agree with Commissioner Miller's idea of a hybrid model where we have it available to those that want to attend that way, but we also show up those that want to.
Just a point of clarification, because it does matter when you get, devil's always the details, right? If your hybrid model includes, like the meetings officially on Zoom, there are some policies that you need to follow to do that, like every motion has to be a roll call vote, a number, and there's a few other things. One of my township, or actually a village, Elmont Village, and I'd have to get that from them, but they did their meeting. Actually, there was one person who wanted to do it on Zoom, so they did it on Zoom. The rest of the people were all in the meeting. They have just redone their entire hall, and they have the best high-tech sound system you can get. It's still messed up. It's still, the person couldn't hear. It was difficult at best, but they got through it. But their clerk read a whole list of I don't want to say, if you want to say regulations, but that's the best word I can come up with, of how the meeting had to be conducted because it was via Zoom.
And that list came from Pullman?
I'm assuming it came from some state, or maybe MTA or MML, one of those. I'm assuming it was when she read it. It was a very,
Very detailed.
detailed, very specific. So I guess my question would be, I think there's two ways of doing that. If you're going to do it as our meetings are officially on Zoom, then part of that is if the Zoom goes down, if there's a glitch, what you do, all that sort of thing. If you're going to put our meetings on Zoom as a public service, but you're still going to conduct business as normal, I think that's I don't think you have to change anything. So I'm not sure, just as a clarification, I'm not sure what you're.
So, two quick questions. After this meeting today, there's a personnel committee meeting, correct? How long is that slated to go until? Or actually, rather, the question is, who's on personnel? Who's going to be on personnel?
Gary
And
and myself
Okay.
and
Linda.
Linda.
Okay.
Gary's not here.
Yeah,
Gary's not here, so we'll
Okay.
ask someone to sit in.
When it comes to committee meetings, someone can hopefully correct me. Is there a posting requirement for them? I think you can just do a meeting. So who's on the bylaws committee? I do believe it's
Procedures.
Dial,
and I think myself and maybe Gary. Would it be acceptable to the board that we call a bylaw meeting, considering us three not meeting during personnel time to discuss the issues you bring up, maybe write out a couple of rules, or at least discuss and find out if there's any issues in the bylaws.
Actually, we could do that as a committee meeting while the personnel.
That's what I meant. Same group.
As long as Rick will sit in on personnel.
We can send them there. That's fine.
All right.
And then we should have a good copy of the open meeting back to the current one. So
It's just a phone call, for example, to the city clerk. They stay right on top of that, and she works real closely with, Nolan's firm, their city attorney, Ruby,
Do we have to
that
make,
answered pretty quickly.
do we have to make a motion to call the personnel committee, or can we just, call it chair?
As
Okay.
long as you're not full.
So at that point, I guess with my motion, I'll withdraw it for now, and then I guess after our recess, we come back and discuss it again, if that makes sense.
We're not,
We're not
we're
recessing.
not recessing.
Oh, we're not recessed?
We're-
Oh,
But we
We
can
have
do
a
it next
separate
week.
meeting.
okay,
It's a special meeting.
okay, we can do it next week, okay. That works. So I withdraw my motion.
So we're moving the topic to next week essentially.
Okay,
What you wanted to get a copy, just extend the Open Meetings Act for current numbers, because executive order right now, 2020-154, had allowed public bodies to conduct meetings electronically and suspended any physical presence required to the extent that the Open Meetings Act included in the second order. Right now, there is no requirement on having it electronic.
I'll make sure. we-
Just want, but you can get the current update or whatever.
Does that expire the 31st?
It does expire the 31st. That all might change, because I can tell you right now, we're closed down till December 8th. And that's only because they have a requirement for 3 weeks. Now, if you all believe that after December 8th, it's gonna open up. But I don't know what world you're living in. That's why I'm leaving tomorrow for Florida. They are open, more seniors, more people getting the same COVID, and fully open all the restaurants and everything, and our businesses are closed down. And I can tell you in December it's gonna be that way. This is probably gonna go into January, into February, into March. I just won't be surprised you see this couple. Just, again, so you guys decide what you wanna do, but the leaders in town need to start standing up. Everybody.
okay, let's move on from that discussion.
We're done. I know you don't wanna hear about it.
But it's not, Rick, we're veering off what the topic was. We're not gonna-
Nation.
We are on the, we have the item number 4, we have the court remodel, for lack of a better term.
Mr.
Three
Chairman,
bucks.
in the courtroom, the juries, as you know, sat right next to each other. So we've got 2 murder trials coming up, we really need to expand that box. We had family building, they were able to come in just to help us out, because we thought about moving out, kind of the barriers and some of the pews, and he said that would be more expensive if you wanted to do it. The best and cheapest way would just move that wall back. And so, we're looking at moving that wall back about 10 feet into the library, which is very doable. The library will be smaller, but still be functional, the books will all still be there, everything. And he would be able to start on a Tuesday and have it done by December 31st. We have checked on the COVID money. If we had done this as an emergency, then they would have paid for it, but because we asked to do it, they have some procedures and different things that might prevent us from using COVID money. She's gonna try and use at least part of it for some of the items. That's why I have my phone down here today, she's supposed to be calling me, but I don't think their meeting's till 2 o'clock. So it's gonna be, they don't have any microphones that work up there, and the speakers don't work. And so we're gonna put in some new microphones and speakers. So it's gonna be, we figure about 35, it's 27 for family building, that's his rough estimate. And then we put an extra in there for the speakers and everything. I don't think it's gonna come to that, but just in case. And we would take it out of capital improvement unless we get the COVID money, then whatever COVID would pay for it, you know. The chief judge said he hates to take it out of general fund. He said if it comes out of, you know, general fund, then maybe we shouldn't do it. But if we don't do it, he can't have a jury trial. So it's really kind of a crazy thing. temporary fix, but then it'd cost you more to put it back, so it'd probably be a permanent fix. Yeah.
Just for the board's knowledge also, Cheryl called me on this as properties chairman. And one of my concerns was bidding, was getting a bid. So after talking to Cheryl, I contacted one of our other contractors who has received a few bids from the county, received several bids from the county. In other words, we've worked with in the past, I don't know, 3-4 years. And actually went to their office and they told me, if you've got somebody that you trust that's willing to get this done by the end of the year, you better pull the trigger on it. Because they were 3 months out, and he said, we're probably gonna be farther than that, because our biggest problem is we can't get materials. We can't get people to work, we can't get materials.
There are a lot of projects.
And he said, everybody out there is in the same boat. He said, if you said to me, I absolutely want you to bid on this, he said, you would never ask me for another bid again because I could retire on the bid I would give you. Because it would be just me working on it day and night. So at any rate, that kind of, in all disclosure, that kind of appeased my want to go out for multiple bids.
And when you have a company, in this particular case, Family Building Company, has done multiple projects for us before, and has a track record of always satisfying contractual requirements on time and on bid. The last thing you can afford to do is have a fly-by-night company, or especially any company during these difficult times, start to tear the courtroom apart, and then not finish the project and walk away from it because of those types of difficulties.
And for the record, I did not tell him who the company was that gave us the price. And he did actually offer, if we wanted, just for comfort, if we wanted him to review the bid, he would do that for us at no cost, just to make sure there was no big zinger, if it was reasonable. I don't know if there's a need for that, but anyway.
I think the information that was explained is contained in the draft motion. I'll move the draft motion which says to authorize Family Building Company to do the reconfiguration project in the circuit courtroom to expand the jury box and authorize the purchase of related microphone system upgrades in order to be COVID-19 compliant at a cost not to exceed $35,000 to be paid from the capital improvement budget but submitted for COVID grant reimbursement if eligible.
Do we have support?
I'll support that. If the maker of the motion will allow me to add a
Support
few
it
words.
first. We support it first.
Go ahead.
If the maker and the second would agree, I would like to start with, due to the current COVID emergency situation, comma, and the rest of the
Fine with
motion.
that?
Maybe that will help Cheryl a little bit in recouping the money.
Yep.
Thank you.
Much more clear. I'm okay.
See how easy it was? Yeah.
Just a quick question, when is the trial scheduled?
I don't know.
You don't know, okay.
Because they can't schedule till they have room enough for the jury, so.
Oh, okay.
And then they gotta wait for the new prosecutor to be up and running, so.
Wow, okay, gotcha.
A lot of,
Moving parts.
Any other questions or concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. We have some draft labor motions. We have a ray of sunshine in front of us. And this is for a tentative agreement with Teamsters Local 214, Friend of the Court, Local 214 District Court, Local 214 Community Mental Health, and AFSCME Council 25 Health Department. Is there a motion to move those?
So moved. Support.
We have a motion, we have support to ratify those. Is there any further discussion or questions?
Just for your information, we also have a TA with corrections D and C and general unit. I think general unit, the Stewart is out with COVID, so I'm not sure when they're gonna be able to go.
Anything else? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Number 6, discussion on the health department. Rick, that's your request.
So I make the motion to approve the tentative agreement related to an.
No, we just did that.
We're on the health department.
We're on the discussion that
Oh,
you
I'm
requested.
sorry, I thought we didn't, I did not record each one. But the health department, and I sent out an email to all the commissioners asking if we at least have our health department director here for what can be discussed. And so I wanted to put it on the agenda. And I've had people question, what are you trying to prove? And I thought I'm trying to prove anything. But what I am trying to say here, before I go out of town, is that I have grown men, businessmen, and I know you have in your own community, I know you have in your own areas that are crying right now because they're losing their business. And our constitutional rights need to be defended. Whether, as a board, we gotta follow certain things, that's one thing. As a leader, we gotta let them know where we stand. They wanna know what our leaders are doing. That's you and me, that's your township supervisor, that's your commission, or your senator, that's your state rep. Nobody's come out to the community and tell these people, we got your back. We're at war. And you guys might not understand it right now, but we are literally at war. Now, we have a governor that's dictating this whole state. I didn't serve the service to say, I made a copy of what you guys just signed, what you guys did. And that was, you all did this, right? With Teresa. And this is what it said in your oath, the office. I do solemnly swear I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this state. And to that, I will faithfully discharge all duties of the office of Lapeer County Commissioner. I took an additional oath, and I think you did as a police officer. I'm sure the sheriffs do it. The oath that I had, additional to that, was I will defend the Constitution of the United States. Any tyranny that tries to interfere with us, both foreign and domestic. Our Constitution right now is being stripped away from us. If we don't grow up, America's not gonna be the same.
Right.
So I put this issue out here so that we can ask our health department. We're the county commissioners over our health department. Did our health department go out to these businesses, or did the state go out? And then we gotta deal with the state. But where is our commitment to our community? So we need to answer those things.
Yeah.
They want that answer.
I have an answer.
Okay.
I called the health department, and I talked to Jeff, who's the director of environmental health, who also runs the food. He told me what the situation was, what happened. So the fine did not originate in the health department. What it was more or less is complaints, calls coming into MDHHS and into the health department, both separately. What happened is MDHHS called the health department and said, okay, we are going to engage the fine, $1,000, and you guys, being the local health department and being the, I forget the word he used, the official advocate or whatever the correct term is for the Michigan Health Department, you are the one who is going to deliver. So they went down and delivered the fine to Woodchips, but it was not from Lapeer County Health Department.
I understand.
And if they didn't do it, if our health department didn't do it, they were just gonna call the state police. That's pretty much what was said. So either you guys can do it, you can go and talk to them, or we'll just call the state police will do it, so.
But as leaders in this community, and we hire and fire our director, health director. So we say, don't go into our places of business. We can say that. We can make that kind of resolution, no?
Yeah, Lenny?
Or can we or not? Can we not?
No, we can't.
Yes, we can.
Excuse me.
Mr.
You
Chairman,
gotta stay out of
this is
this.
public.
Public,
You gotta stay out of this.
this is not public time. If you interrupt again, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. Lenny has the floor.
There's a couple things that need to be understood about this process. First of all, the health department director, who we hired to run the health department, also has a role as the health officer. And as the health officer, responsible to enforce all the health laws and codes of the county, is not responsible, does not take direction from an elected body like this board. The same as a police chief. You cannot have a city commission direct a police officer, a police chief, what to enforce and what not to enforce. We can't direct the sheriff in this particular case. It's a little bit more different because the sheriff is elected.
Right.
So that's why I used the municipal example of an elected body, a commission, and a police official. That police official has certain duties that you cannot direct. We cannot direct the health officer. My comments that I made before, as far as I know how busy Kathy is. You and I have talked about this before. I would like Kathy as much as possible, when possible, to be at these public meetings so that we can have an open dialogue so that we are engaged, because in addition to being the county commission that directs a lot of activities, we also are the health board, which is advisory to the health officer. So, again, it's a health board, even in that role, wearing that hat. We can't direct Kathy what to do. But it's important that we have the dialogue back and forth, not privately, but publicly, so that the public knows and hears what's going on. So that's the one clarification. The other clarification on, well, let's either try to legally do something like make a local ordinance that says, or to turn around and say, no, we're going to radically impose. Number one, a local ordinance does not supersede the state. Just like a state, if it violates a federal constitution, it can't. Otherwise, we're sovereign states. But local cannot supersede state. So you cannot pass any legal ordinance that overrides a state and said the state directed this, but we're going to say it's okay in our particular community.
Be more restrictive, not less.
It could be more restrictive, not less. Thank you very much. That's the exact point of that. Clearly, we don't want it to be more restrictive. And again, there is such a fine balance between the health numbers of this disease and all the other things that don't get reported enough that causes suicides and the domestic violence that we talked about. That's important for us to have those dialogues because both of those dichotomies exist. And also unfortunately, for every business that is severely impacted, we also have frontline workers and doctors and nurses right here in McLaren region that every day are risking their lives and putting their families through extreme, difficult situations, trying to serve the community. So there are all of these yings and yangs taking place. And it's important, I think, for us to have that public dialogue every once in a while. So I agree with having Kathy here when we can, but make no mistake about it. She, as the health officer, has that ultimate responsibility of being able to make that decision. We can't direct that, and we cannot pass a local ordinance that says we're going to ignore state law. We can't.
Okay, but that's good. Having her here, we can discuss that stuff. They didn't want to bring it because it was too big of an agenda. We're in it right now, it's the emergency, not later. Right now is when people are trying to get some answers. She's willing to come on to Zoom anytime, but it's much easier for her because she is a busy lady. And I tip my hat to her. I wouldn't want to be in her position for nothing in the world. I salute her. I salute everybody on the front line. I have friends and doctors and nurses that are also on the front line. And I also hear other sides of those same doctors and nurses of what's really happening. There's a lot of issues going on. And when you talked about the COVID, yes, we do have to have these answers. That's why having her here. We want to know, what happened to flu? How come flu isn't increasing right now? There's questions that we answer in the health department. So why are we closed down? Why is it all COVID?
Okay,
Still to this day. So we need them to hear so that the public can hear us, tell us officially why they are in this position.
so, a few things I want to say, just to make you aware and make everyone aware. So, first off, with the flu, we've actually had more kids die of the flu this year than we have COVID, so we should keep that in mind. Which, still not a huge number, but it is going around. And as I've stated before, the flu is much more deadlier to people under the age 18 than COVID is. Just is what it is. The inverse is obviously true for over 65s. When it comes to doing something, I think many of us in here, I don't know, I don't want to speak for everybody, but most of us probably agree the restaurant shutdown just doesn't make much sense. It's like 4%, 5% of the overall spread. Doesn't make a lot of sense. You know, especially considering so many restaurants have adapted to the new rules. They've cut down capacity, they've done extra cleaning, so they've done what they should do. So I agree the shutdown doesn't make much sense in that regard. As far as our options, I would just, once again, say, like I did before in previous discussions, you know, continue to show the fact that Michigan counties are not autonomous virtually at all. We are extensions of the state, just as so much as the health department is an extension of the state health department. You know, they don't really have much of a choice. And really, the only way you can take action necessarily on this is something that I really don't want to do, which is do what the liberals do and basically defund the health department until they do what you want, or declare this sanctuary thing where you're not going to follow a bigger law because you don't like it. You know, I'm not going to follow immigration law anymore because I don't like it. I mean, I don't believe that line of philosophy of thinking or governance is good, nor is it worthy of a conservative like myself to support. Because I believe you go through the proper channels, you don't just defund things until you get what you want. So as far as action goes, I am in support. If someone wants to put up a resolution and say, hey, you know, here's the numbers. The numbers show only 4% of contacts get it from restaurants, and here as, you know, we have these many community restaurants, these many restaurants that lose lost employees. Because I agree, my mom is a small business owner. I'm dealing with things right now with that, and it's scary. It's scary to think you can't just close down for 3 weeks and you're not have money for 3 weeks. That's crazy. And for so many businesses, carryout just don't cut it. It just don't cut it at all. So I agree with you. It's a serious issue. It's something that's affecting all of us. As I think I mentioned before, I lost 12 businesses so far in my district, and since my last count, it's probably gone up to 20. I've lost at least 12, up to 20 of them since the beginning of this. So I agree, that's over 100 jobs. It's over 100 jobs lost in my community. So I think it is a problem, but I don't see any other option besides, as I said, if you want to find a resolution, go for it.
Resolution or a letter.
Or a letter.
As we did before.
Yep.
Which you guys put a hat out together and get one, because nobody's gonna like what I say anyways. I don't, but my thing is, as leaders, we put something out there for the community. There's certain, we're gonna do what we can, but we have constraints too. Let them know that we're there behind them. They're not hearing that. I'm telling you right now, I get the calls all the time. I don't know why, if you're not hearing this, I don't understand what's going on in your community, because, I mean, business people, literally in tears. It's a shame. What, by Christmas time, by New Year's, you may not ever see these guys again. You understand? That's how serious this is. And this people want more. I mean, this is sad. I'm going to Florida because my wife, I work part-time here. I did this to get back in the community. I didn't do this, this is not my career. I don't looking to make money, looking for votes. I'm looking to help the community when I could. I don't know why I got into politics. There's a battle you gotta go through. It's like, normal businesses don't work like this. It drives me crazy. So, but I'm going down there because my wife, who works for a large corporation in the medical field, can't go into hospitals, so they're all Zooming. They're used to traveling the road and going into hospitals. They can't because of what's going on. But Zoom works great for large corporations, small corporations. And 6 people can't communicate on a Zoom? 7? I find that appalling. But that's my personal opinion. But we need to stand up. No, we need to stand up as leaders and do like he did. Do a resolution, do a letter. Let me we'll do everything in our power, what we can do. But we're going to be contesting these unconstitutional things that are going on. It's wrong, and we need to let them know we agree with them. And, man,
I'd like to
support those guys because they're closing restaurants, and you got Myers, and you got Walmart's, thousands of people in it. It's packed. I went by Marcus yesterday. You couldn't get in that parking lot if you wanted to. And you're closing down businesses who, like you said, have taken their money, their pride, your next door neighbor, and putting their heart and soul and clean it there. It's cleaner to go in there than to go to your doctor's office or go to the hospital. That's what's crazy about all this. We gotta look common sense in the eye and say, enough is enough, and figure out something. We can only do so much, but at least let them know we're gonna try. That's all I'm saying.
I'd like to bring a couple of clarifications to a few things. And first off, our county health department has not issued any rules or regulations regarding this. And there have been counties that have. And there have been counties that have come down, their health directors have come down with stricter rules than the state. Our county health department has not. Our county health department has not issued any tickets or violations from our county health department. They have not.
And I'm okay with it.
And our county health department is not taking that tact, if you will. They are going, my understanding, and you can also correct me if you got a different take from them, but my understanding is they are going in and trying to inform the local business owners what the state regulations or the state, whatever you want to call mandates or whatever you want to call them, whatever those are, how they affect those businesses, and what could be in jeopardy from the state if they didn't follow those. That's my understanding. They're going in there on an informational type of a scenario. And quite frankly, I don't have a problem with it. At that point in time, it's the local business owner. It's their call if they want to do battle with the state. I also think, I'm not in favor of restaurants being closed down. I wouldn't have made that call. I'm not in that position. And I am a local businessman, and I am on the local Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, and I talk to these people all the time, just like everybody else does. I haven't had maybe go to the extent that you have, but Dial?
Just to add another dimension, one of the things supposedly the governor's order through the health department, because I think that's essentially what it is tied to science. And we seem to have a disagreement about what science has proven, because Brandon was talking about 4%, which my understanding was data given from Los Angeles study.
Yeah.
I think the CDC is saying that up to 70 or 80% of the cases are linked to restaurant participation, which is hard for me to believe, but that's supposedly data too, science data too. So we've also got different science data. You can argue about which you want to believe. It's one of those factors that we're stuck with.
But the state isn't even following the national CDC guidelines or who the world CDC guidelines, so everybody's in question, and so is the community, so is the businesses, because nobody can prove that the restaurant got you COVID. Nobody can prove that you got it at Myers.
Nobody can.
So that's all I'm saying.
The problem is I guess where you're losing me is this board acts as a body with a motion, with support, and with the vote, the positive vote of the board. If somebody can lay something in front of me that says, Commissioner Kemp, if you pass this, if your body passes this motion, this is what will take effect. This is the action that will happen. Because quite frankly, I don't think that there is anything more that we can do as a body other than send a letter to the governor's office, which quite frankly, I guarantee you I know which quote-unquote science she's gonna follow, and I know what file that letter's gonna go into.
Well, you did it with the region, and I think we're still in the same.
And we're still in the same thing. So there, you keep saying, stand up, we've got to do, I don't know, if somebody can put something in front of me that says, do this, pass this motion, and I can't think of one, that actually has teeth to it. The interesting thing here is that has your has your state House of Representative, which last time I checked is still in Republican control, have they sent that letter? Have they?
I don't recall that.
Have they taken a position on it?
Have they taken a position on it?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Has your Senate taken a position on it?
And they're asking for them.
You would know,
I know,
Brandon.
I'm thinking.
I mean, you know more than I on that scenario.
I think the House has, I think the speaker made a statement against the restaurant shutdown. I don't know what Mr. Majority Leader, Shirkey, there we go, thank you, I was gonna say Sharkey, Shirkey, gosh, yeah. So I don't think he has made a comment, but I do believe Chatfield has made a comment, but not a motion or a resolution. I know that he's just made comments as a speaker, but yeah, you're right, I don't think of any resolutions like he did.
Certainly a letter or a resolution can't hurt. I mean, it's what any citizen can do to try to indicate to the people who think they have the authority to do this, we don't agree, and we think you ought to reconsider what you're doing.
Absolutely, and any commissioner is always welcome to put a letter or a resolution from this board for consideration.
Well, I
So-
also think, we talked about personal responsibility. I also think it's individual public responsibility as well. Like I said, we could draft a letter, it just becomes one letter. We've seen what's happened. And it's viewed as, okay, it's coming from a public body. Well, let's see, what is Lapeer County? Oh, it's normally mostly Republicans. I can get my votes there anyways, let me ignore them. But inundate their phone lines and inundate their mailboxes by each individual citizen standing up and taking the time, the small amount of time to contact the governor's office, that would probably have a lot more impact. Well, like I say, it is such a complex issue that a lot of the public really doesn't know what way they fall on it. But I encourage those that do know which way you fall on it, exercise your individual right too. We talk about personal responsibility. Take some personal responsibility and help back these businesses that are getting decimated.
And I agree, and that's.
And again, personal responsibility, when you got a business that's taken the time to make themselves so super safe, let them be open, and if the public doesn't wanna go in there and doesn't feel safe, don't go in there. You know, but for somebody else that does feel comfortable, you know, go in there. I think that's a lot of our position, but she needs to hear that in mass numbers. There's a lot of citizens in the state. She needs to hear it in mass numbers from citizens, not just some elected bodies.
No, and I understand, but for the community, they would like to see we do something like that, that we did recognize that, at least recognize them, so that they, and I 100% agree with you. I would encourage, if anybody out there is listening on that media stuff, man, call your state rep, call your senator, call the governor's office, call the attorney general's office, get on their case. Everybody in this state should be calling right now. I can't believe we don't have more individuals calling, but that needs to get out for media also. But us, as leaders saying, we're gonna do a resolution that we don't agree to pass it on, and it helps them give that resolution, because they don't know what to do either. We can encourage them to call your state reps and your senators. And so that, I think, everybody should be out fully. But just a simple letter that, as a community, as their local county commissioners, we do agree, we're on their side, well, our hands are tied just like theirs are. Well, let them know that they see us doing that, not hear nothing. They're not hearing nothing, that's why they're complaining.
Once again, you're certainly welcome to submit any letter or any resolution
I'll put a letter
to this
together,
board.
you guys can have a hat on after that, I'll send it to you.
Send me a draft.
Yeah,
For
and you guys,
consideration.
you know,
I would say that I personally think, and I commend our health department for the work they have been doing, but I also commend them for not, and I know for a fact, because I've talked with our health director multiple times about this, for not taking a heavy hand on any of this. And that's not been her tact as the leader of the health department, and I commend her for that. And the folks that are out there. So, with that, let's move on. We have committee of the whole. Draft motions? Nope, we have none, okay.
No meeting last month, or last week.
Are there any planning or budgetary discussions we need, Cheryl?
We need a closed session, so.
We need a closed session, okay, we can do that.
Today, for the purpose of
Labor negotiations.
Audit motions. Lenny, will you do the audit motions for us?
I will, I'll move the audit motion, the road commission, and county audit motion with the chairman or vice chairman or interim county controller's signature.
I support.
We have a motion, we have support. Do we have any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. So we gotta do a roll call, I think?
We don't have to do a roll call. It's not mandatory.
Aye. And,
All opposed, the same?
and,
Motion carries.
and in memory of our chairman, who's under the weather today, he would say that today we spent a cool $2,742,853.87 of hard-earned taxpayers' dollars.
There you go. That brings us down to our second public time. Is there anybody? Teresa?
I just wanted to clarify that, yes, your organizational meeting will be on January 7th. You mentioned that briefly, and I should have talked about that during department head update, but I just wanted to confirm that that'll be the date for the organization meeting. Okay.
9 a.m.
Yes.
And that will be Zoom?
I don't know if you're gonna have.
Yet to be determined.
Okay.
Next meeting.
Okay, thanks.
Bill?
Do you still need several people to be sworn in?
Yes, and I'll take care of that after,
Okay, you have been sworn in, see Teresa.
okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Bill?
Well, first off, I don't think you guys are gonna have trouble hearing me through my mask, so it's, that being said, thanks for everybody being here. It's tough times. We actually do it for our business. We actually go in, we took care of a facility, over the weekend, they had all but one person out with COVID, 3 of them on ventilators. I go in and clean it up. We fog, we do all that kind of stuff. Very risky world out there, but you just do things properly, and that's all people need to do. That being said, some of the things that have been discussed here, Brennan, thank you so much for getting that information. I don't so much have a problem with the health department, doing what they have to do because they are under constraints. I understand that. We can't, I've talked to Kevin Dale, I've talked to Gary Howell, I've talked to multiple legislators in our state legislature. Our governor's not getting information. All of a sudden they'll have a total, and then they've, upon re-examination, they've pulled in other things. What does that mean? It may not mean anything. It may be very reasonable. But I would really, we do have a health director here that is funded by the tax dollars of Lapeer County citizens. I would really like to have an explanation. Maybe we can't get it from the state, but it would sure be nice if we could have an explanation from her. At the Tea Party, we were trying to get her when all this stuff first started. We weren't able to do that. We weren't set up for Zoom and all that kind of stuff at the time, which we subsequently are. As far as everything else going on, no matter how you slice it, however this thing turns out with the election, you're going to have half of this country. We are closer to major civil unrest, I believe, than we've ever been before, and I really would like to see that change. I don't know if it's going to. But that being said, people have no faith in our federal government. They have no faith in our state government. What we do have is faith in you people. You are our friends. You are our colleagues. We work with you. We go to church with you. We know you. It's very important that you as a body have your message out there. That being said, you spent $2 million today, and you got a couple old farts like us out here with cameras recording the meeting. I would expect an organization that has multiple $1-million budget that you figure out a way to get this thing online. Matt Wandry, when he first came to Lapeer Community Schools, he was at one of our Tea Party meetings, which we've recorded audio, then we started video years and years ago. Took a look at it. Within about 6 months, they were rolling, and they post their meetings. They're not live, but they're available for people because you know what? It's 10:30 in the morning. Most good folks don't have. I'm self-employed. I'm able to schedule around. Most folks don't have the ability to do that. If you're working a single mom or a single dad, you're trying to make a living, especially in this world. So I would encourage you, whatever you have to do, set something up and get it on schedule. People need to know what you guys are doing. It's extremely important. I cannot emphasize the importance it is for you folks to, for what is said here and things that are done here for people to be able to know. Now, Maybe not everybody's gonna be interested, but I will tell you what, as, you know, as Rick said, there are a lot of people. You had a news story that came out that was published. You had stuff from the state that specifically said that things were being done by our health department. Now, it probably, obviously, or evidently, it was a misinformation, which has happened sometimes. But we need clarification. And if it wasn't for us being here recording this, by and large, people are, if they can get it with one click, that's where they're gonna go. More than 2 or 3 clicks, you may not get them. But you need to have your information out there as to the best that you can. If everybody doesn't get it, that's not on you, that's on them. But there should be a place, people should be able to go to Lapeer County website, look up the county commission meeting, click a button, and watch the latest meeting. It's not hard, a couple $100, you know, for a camera and just a cheap little computer. You stick one up there. You don't have to have all the graphics and zoom, but it's very easy to do. So I would truly would encourage you. To me, that would be the best money, the best value that you could spend, especially in the situation right now, because we don't know what's going to go on. Things could get very ugly. Things could get, we've got vaccines that are coming out. People look to you, especially now. People look to local for leadership and just to feel the confidence that we need to feel as Americans. So that's it. I appreciate everybody being here. And just if you could consider that, and if there's a way we can do that, you know, I mean, listen, we do the best we can, but you know, I've not been able to be at a lot of these because I've had to make a buck too, so it's a little difficult. So anyway, that's it. Thank you so much.
Anybody else from the public? Yes, sir.
Yeah. I just found my statistics in my massive things. According, and this was this morning, my wife pulled this off the statistics.com, whatever she got it from. We had 66 deaths in Lapeer County from day one back in March till now. And currently we have 344 cases. Take those statistics for what they are. They were on her phone, whatever. And I'd like to reiterate what many of you people are saying and what I feel. I'm going to read from the Declaration of Independence for my amount of time I have. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Among those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their own safety and happiness. And I believe that Mr. Warren has a very, very valid point. We don't oppress our businesses here for 66 people. Granted, I'm sorry they died, but it's still an oppressive environment imposed on us by the governor of this state who has no business telling Lapeer County what to do, because she's obviously in error. And Scott's not here. I congratulate Scott McKenna for standing up and saying, I'm not enforcing her orders. He's a good man. He's a saint in these times. Thank you very much.
Anyone else in public time? Hearing and seeing none, we will move on to commissioner reports. Rick, do you have anything?
I think we said a lot.
Linda?
No.
Just one more, because I said I'm leaving, because if I don't see you on Zoom or whatever, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year all.
Brendan?
All I'd say is I agree with the camera. I appreciate you bringing that up. That's something I think I brought up in my first or second meetings. Having a camera system, something like Genesee County, something to, archival footage is important, especially for someone like myself who's trying to go back through old meeting minutes and old election results. It's important to have videos when we can. So I'm 100% supportive, and I think from what the administration told us last meeting, we're in the works of that, I do believe. Might be corrected on that. Are we in the works of something for the cameras?
We've got it.
Oh, no, I mean other cameras. No? I thought we discussed other cameras as well.
You wanted 2 cameras, so we
Yeah.
got 2 cameras in here. We're gonna try and get the wide lens, and I think those are back ordered,
Okay.
so.
So you have a camera facing that way, one here,
Will those recordings be available? Or are they being
They're not recorded.
recorded?
They're not being recorded.
Should they?
I think you have to get recording equipment if you want to record.
You should be able to record them on Zoom.
I think you just gotta
Yeah,
show
I
it.
don't know.
I think you
Anything you guys need help with, let me know on that stuff. Because if you guys have recordings if you guys are able to record, I'd be more than happy once we get a wide lens or something on there, I'd be more than happy and try and fix that up to make it look presentable even, so. Because I think it is important to archive it if we can. Maybe not on the website, because the website's a bit of a mess when it comes to code. That's what I've seen and from what I understand. Maybe even just having YouTube would be fine, I think. Something, because I'll be honest, the Lapeer Tea Party's been great with it. They put their stuff on YouTube, which I really appreciate. But yeah, so I would like to see that. The other thing I'll say is if there was a letter that came to us about restaurants, I will sign it, as long as it has good backing and good data in it. Not just saying that we want something done, but proving why we want it done. And what I guess I'll end on is the story of my morning. I was driving up from Toledo this morning, and about around 7 o'clock, I'm a little north of Detroit, and I'm stuck behind this truck. It's a pickup truck, and there's a bunch of black bags in the back. I'm not quite sure what they are, but they're about ready to fall out. So I'm a little bit behind this guy, and the bag just hits the ground, and everywhere, a bunch of,
Ballots?
No,
Oh.
teddy bears. Teddy bears go all over the road. So I was delayed, but at the same time I sat there and I was like, yeah, you know what? If I'm delayed by anything, teddy bears is okay. So that's my story for the morning. But that's all I have.
I guess the one thing left from my list would be, I got a contact from one of my constituents about the Michigan app for COVID. And I don't know a whole lot about it. I noticed that Kathy has a short note on the health department, and I think it is a health department, Michigan Health Department app. It'd be good to hear more about that. She recommended that we ought to, both as county government and others in the county ought to be using it more. I frankly only know just a little bit. Be good to get more information about that.
I will comment on that, because I had the COVID after. When they're gonna follow me out, I took it off my phone. I don't want to follow.
Well, I understand, the little bit I read was that was an initial concern, but the app doesn't allow that. So I guess that's part of the question. It doesn't identify you.
Apple doesn't know, nobody knows.
Right, but it does.
It's up to you, I'm just letting you know that's what's going on. I personally took it back off because of that, and whatever they want to tell you, whatever the media wants to tell you, if you want to believe, that's fine. That's the reason I took it off. But for those who want it, they can go get the app out there, it's out there, they can follow their own history, they can follow, they get something close to something that's COVID, and they'll look fine. So for that purpose, if you're feeling comfortable with that, then go for it.
Lenny?
Yeah, just a good opportunity to have a quick educational piece. So, Bill, on a couple of your comments, which I take no exception to the general comments. They're very well spoken, especially like you say, in a time when people distrust so much different levels of government. We're from the community. That's a great point. Just a couple bits of information. Number one, and this is not explained enough by us when we do our paying the bills all the time. We're a pass-through entity. You inferred to it yourself when you said we're an arm of the state. And so much of what we do is state-directed. Monies is the same way. When we say we spend between $2 million and $5 million every couple of weeks on, that's not our money. Think of us as the guy that lives in the trailer that His job is to run online a personnel company, and he takes money and he pays employees and stuff like that, and it's not his.
Oh, no, I understand.
I'm just saying, just, it's a good educational piece for the public. The majority of that is not our dollars. We're taking and we're distributing. It's kind of our quasi role as an arm of the state. Case in point, community mental health. Community mental health. And so when you hear discussions about us talking about whether or not they can be an authority or not, the county contributes 0.2%. You know, so like a little fraction of a penny to their budget. The vast majority of their money comes from the federal government and from the state government. So we authorize a lot of those payments, and we get funding from different sources, but most of it, a lot of it is passed through. So that's just a point well taken. And we're not, doesn't excuse the fact that we've been saying for years, we've got to try to get technology based. And that's where, because we have such very limited funds, when we have the ability, where we've got a great local press that covers us, and where we've got Lapeer Now that comes and tapes us all the time, it gives us a great opportunity to give them a plug and tell people that, believe it or not, even though we don't have our own camera system, you can watch the public meetings every time by going to lapeernow.com. We appreciate them coming in and video. We should still ultimately take that responsibility upon ourselves, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist right now. And last but not least, I'm Kathy. Again, your comments are very well taken, same comments that I had about having the public discourse. But I would be remiss, I gotta to dovetail into what Commissioner Kemp said. I would be remiss if I didn't at least say as a disclaimer, I know of no county employee right now, anywhere in our organization, that works harder right now than our health director has during these very difficult times. They've all, like every other county department, they've been short-staffed to begin with, and then with this pandemic, she is living, eating, sleeping this whole thing. So when she's not here, there's a good reason why, because unfortunately she has to prioritize. We just want to make sure that administration has a conversation with her and just ask to kind of bump up the priority of every once in a while, having her come to the public meeting, not to regurgitate numbers like I said before, because her office does a great job of doing that. Just to come in and just to kind of hit on the high points that are of concerns to our community so that they can see this dialogue is taking place.
Just want to follow up on Kathy as far as Rick. I know for a fact that she would be much easier for her if she even said this. I passed her on this. We had it on Zoom, she could take time from office, but when you take a person, or anybody, they got to drive in here, sit in our meeting, and wait till they get their time to talk, and it's a lot more time than if we had her on a Zoom, and let's get the information out real quick and let her go on her day. That would be my suggestion. You guys do it well.
I guess the last that I would is please keep her and all of your first line providers in your thoughts and in your prayers, especially during this holiday time. I'm telling you, these people are really stressed. I know nurses personally, I know doctors personally. It is a very difficult time for them. I know victims of COVID and their families personally. That's real too. I know, like all of us, business owners and what they're going. That's why I'm saying it is such a yin and a yang, and there is no right or there is no wrong. There's just a lot of suffering going on, and what we need is just a little bit more civility and a little bit more patience and understanding with each other's point of view during this. It's a once in a century type of thing. And if you want to hear from a local voice, is it real or is it fake? It's real.
I guess just a couple of comments on a few things that have been said. You know, it's always interesting to me, and after sitting in this chair for 20 years, a lot of times what we love about this county is maybe what sometimes we don't love about it at the same time. And that kind of pertains to like the cameras. You know, this board's worked very hard to not put a tax burden on the taxpayers. We're what, I don't know, somewhere from 3 to 5 lowest tax counties in the state of Michigan. The history of the canvas art, this board talked about it. This goes back quite a few years, you guys will remember. And we talked about needing to video archive our meetings and do that. At that time, Lapeer now stepped up to the plate and said, we're a private company and we'd love to come do that. And at no charge to you. And guess what? We said, that would be a wonderful thing, thank you very much. And they've done a great job at doing that, I understand. They've had some issues with some servers a time or two, but what we love about this county and this board, you know, being extremely frugal and looking toward to our private sector, is that's how we proceeded with taping our meetings. And they've been very diligent about being at virtually every meeting for a long time. I have gone back and reviewed those, oftentimes cringed at what I said, but that's okay too. The other thing, the same thing applies, a couple of things, you know, you mentioned people not being able to be here at 10 o'clock in the morning. And that's true. But at the same time, the reason that really is, we used to go out and we used to do meetings, and every commissioner got a meeting in their district, an evening meeting, and we would go to a township, and the township supervisor and clerk and maybe one, if you were lucky, one trustee would be there, and that would be it. When I would do it in my district, my wife wouldn't even come, you know. And so the problem with that was that the employees that we had to have there were all on overtime. And so it didn't make a lot of sense to spend that money in that fashion. So we eliminated that, and that's really why the bottom line, and we've talked about it. I look at Cheryl, because she was here for a lot of years. We've talked about going to evening meetings. And then we start talking about what it's going to cost us to do that for the employees to go on overtime. And again, what we love about this county and this board being extremely frugal is also why we don't have our meetings at 7 o'clock at night like many other counties do. So not that that's right, wrong, or indifferent, it's just the history of it. You know, the only other thing, and I guess I will say it again, and I have said this for a long time, you know, when this board does act on something, we do need, or we should feel, that whatever our action is relevant and effective. And if it's not relevant and effective, and it's purely for political or ceremonial reasons, unless it's a 50th wedding anniversary, then that's when you start to get on thin ice. And I have said that to this board multiple times. I think I've pretty much always been, it's been proven right. And I would caution this board, if you're going to take action, make sure your action is relevant and effective. So we're not doing that. To be honest with you, Rick, you had your commission time, and then you commented on every single commissioner's time, and we're not doing that. So with that, we need one more motion to go into closed session.
We go into closed session for the purpose of labor negotiations. After
5-minute recess.
5-minute recess.
Is there support?
Support.
Do we need anybody else specific in there that's not normally authorized?
You need a roll call.
We need a roll call.
Commissioner Schneider?
Yes.
Commissioner Warren?
Yes.
Commissioner Henry?
Yes.
Commissioner Jarvis?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Kemp?
Yes. We're in recess for 5 minutes.